Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of Business and Financial Raw Talk, a no-holds-barred forum for leaders and innovators. I am LaWanna Bradford, Chief Operating Officer of the Bradford Group and Principal of the Bradford Group Consulting. And I am here with an amazing guest, Miss Leida Speller. How's it going, Leida?
Hi, LaWanna. It's going well. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for saying yes. And I'm so glad that we're going to work together again on our upcoming third annual boot camp. Can't believe it's been 3 years.
Yeah, it's crazy. Time has really flown, but I'm really excited about it. I've enjoyed the two prior events. So I'm really looking forward to this one.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be even better because of all the shifts and changes that we've experienced with the pandemic. So I think you and the others are gonna bring a lot of richness to the women. But I want to tell people about you. If you don't know who Leida Speller is, where have you been, ladies? Leida Speller is passionate and driven and dedicated to help women establish financial sustainability today for their security tomorrow. She believes that not only can women live long, but they can live well. She's a certified financial planner. She's a chartered financial consultant, a retirement income certified professional, and she continues to fight for economic equality and inclusion for the underserved community. In addition to that, she partners with organizations to address the ever-expanding racial and gender wealth gap. And we're going to get into a little bit of that today. But today's topic is about looking into your crystal financial ball. So, Leida, you've been in the financial realm for quite a while, as have I. And I know for me, my passion shifted when life hit me with the 2007-2008 financial crisis. And I found myself where I had done all the right things, dotted all the I's, crossed all the T's. And then when the unexpected happens, and being in the mortgage industry, just my ability to create income and to maintain my company at the level that it was with the staff that I had suddenly went away. And I found myself taking from my very healthy retirement fund and using it to feed my business because I didn't have the heart to let people go. But knowing what I know now, because I literally depleted that account trying to take care of 18 staffers, that if I had done it differently or maybe received guidance, I still could have helped them, but in a way where maybe I could have given them a severance package instead of just trying to hold them on, knowing there was no money coming in. So I just wonder, what is your story? What is it that has, obviously you love finances, but what has fueled your passion to take that interest and love for finance to help educate and empower women?
Yeah, so you're right. I have been in and around the industry for a lot of years. I'm definitely making my way into and beyond middle age, right? So it's been quite a while. My start in the industry was not at all intentional. I actually started in the industry because I was like a lot of other 22-year-olds in that I needed a job. The mutual fund company in my town happened to be hiring at the time. And so I interviewed with them, got the job, and kind of the rest is history. Now, I've been out front as an advisor for the last 6 years of my career. And, a lot of that was fueled by a couple of things. So one thing being just really curious and interested in always learning and taking my career and my professional life higher. And being out front as an advisor was the step that made sense for me, or the right next step for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then in doing that and kind of starting down the trajectory of being an advisor and being out front, I was able to just start having all of these conversations with women and learning their stories and digging into data and just understanding the picture kind of nationally around, racial and gender wealth and the state of women versus men, when looking through that lens and, minorities versus non-minorities when looking through that lens and just recognizing the disparity. Also, what is true is that I, up until that point where I went out front to lead my own practice, a lot of life happened, right? And so I saw my own hardships, like literally within a week's time, I was divorced, technically homeless because we had sold our marital home and I had not yet resettled. And I landed in the hospital, like literally in a coma with 2 hemorrhagic strokes. And so there were so many things happening in my life at that point that had I not been in the industry my entire adult life, probably would have rattled me in a way that I was able to kind of absorb, right? Or that I wasn't able to absorb. And so that also just deepened my passion for this work to help more women just build financial resiliency into their lives and to also encourage them to appreciate the fact that, your life at 87 will likely be just as valuable to you as your life at 37, right? And so do not forget about the 87-year-old that's down the road. And so that's a lot of what fuels my passion for the work.
And I like that. And so many women who I talk to who are on this quest, if you will, have a story where life, if you can live long enough, the ebbs and flows of life, change happens, and how you are able to insulate yourself, I think helps you to better rebound. And for me, because of my knowledge, I didn't let the circumstances defeat me. I knew that I have the tools to rebuild. It's just crawling out of that dark space, right? Getting your mind right again, and knowing that it's possible. This too shall pass. And I think it's important that we share our stories because so many people can quickly look at where we are and make a judgment and say, "You don't get it. You don't know what it's like." And it's like, yeah, we get the hardships, the losses, the divorces, the health crises that can come along and cripple your ability to earn or maybe even strip what you have managed to save and accrue over your life.
That is so true. That is so true. So many of us, like you said, look at the surface or look at the presentation, and we don't know the story behind what we see, and we're quick to assume and to judge. I am like so many other women. I've been a single mother. I have been divorced. I've dealt with illness. I've dealt with my financial challenges. Like I've seen a lot of things that so many of us see. And I would say the biggest lesson for me is that no matter where we are in our life, and especially in our financial journey, the important thing to do is to not bury your head in the sand. Just be with your situation. Look at it, assess it, understand it, because that is the only way that you really get to move forward from where it is yourself to be, right? And so you just have to deal with the truth and be willing to move on from there.
I like what you said, don't bury your head in the sand. I call that the ostrich syndrome, because then when you rise up, Then you have the CLS, the Chicken Little syndrome, wondering, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And that's why surrounding yourself with people who are knowledgeable, with experts, with guides that can give you perspective, number one, and then the tools, the tactics, and strategies that are customized for you, right? It's not a one size fits all.
No, it's not. It absolutely isn't. You really do have to assess and understand your own situation. And you have to know where you are versus where it is you're wanting to get to. So you also have to very clearly define your own goals. And it is the gap between the two that has to be filled with a customized plan and strategy that suits you. And you're navigating between those 2 points. And it is very personal and very much a customized and personalized process.
You and I've talked about this before, and Tracy Oriami is always, banging her drum about women don't like talking about finances. Do you find that that's shifting now with us being now 18 months in the pandemic? Are women more open to inquiring about what can they do, or is the situation pretty static?
Yeah, I think, we just in general have learned a lot coming through this pandemic. And I think, so many of us are willing to talk about a lot. And I think finances are certainly one of them. And statistics do show that women are definitely doing more financially this last year, even in the face of us being the ones who were impacted most negatively by the pandemic. Research is also showing that more of us are investing. More of us are starting to save. So yeah, I think it's definitely having an impact on us being willing to talk about finances, because it's true, we don't enjoy talking about it. A lot of us.
But that's refreshing to hear that, perhaps this was the impetus to cause the tides to shift slightly, because when we become comfortable with talking about finances, that is such a seed of empowerment, because now we can take those lessons learned and pass it on to the next generation.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. And one thing that has been an incredible learning for me just through the process, or just as a result of having the privilege of sitting with so many women and having this conversation in private, an important learning for me has been that you don't even really have to have that much of a conversation, right? It's like, be willing to allow someone else to hold this space for you, right? Like if you partner or you pair yourself with a professional who is willing to hold that space of you being able to create financial wellness in your life, you being able to plan sufficiently for your future, it becomes a conversation about your life and not about finances, not about money. And that has just been such a beautiful learning for me, is that when you sit down and you say, look, these are the things I want to happen in my life. Right? This is where I would like to be in my life, or in my business, or in my family, from a financial wellness or from a financial perspective. Then it really does become a conversation about your life and what you aspire to. And someone else gets to worry about the financial pieces and to, work with those pieces and put those together for you. Now, you have a lot of responsibility in the process, in that you do have to share information. You do have to, provide data. Like, there is some lifting to be done on your part as an individual. But the conversation about finances becomes, just a facet of this much bigger picture and this much more beautiful discussion. Oh, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? I love that. I love that perspective because, as you said, you strip away all the angst and insecurity and confusion around finances, and if you're just talking about your life, where it is now and where you want it to be, now you're dreaming. Now you're thinking about the possibilities.
Exactly.
And it becomes, I think, definitely a more inviting and more engaging connection with the advisors that you surround yourself with, because it's a team, right? You have your different buckets that you need, whether it's the financial planner, which could be an estate planner. It could be something separate if you've got that legal advice, to your insurance broker, your mortgage broker, your banker, your accountant, etc. And this takes us to the title of this, looking into your crystal financial ball. And I loved when last year you gave a talk at our boot camp, and you talked about your future self. Mm-hmm. And you put it in a way that for me just resonated. And I'm in the industry, but I thought, wow, I haven't really had a conversation with that 80-year-old LaWanna. Mm-hmm. Because if I am blessed to live the life my parents are living, my dad's 91, mom's 85, I've got a lot of living left. Yeah. So I need to start talking to her, right? To find out, what is she like? I want her to be healthy. I want her to be happy and at peace and have the financial means to care for herself and not live dependent on someone else or, state assistance or may not be able to eat healthy because you can't afford it. So can you talk about that in a little bit more detail and have our audience really sit in that message about your future self and kind of forecasting where she might be?
Yeah, so I think the first step in that for a lot of us is letting go of the shame of the younger woman, right? Who's made some mistakes, who may not have done everything right. And so now we're at a place where financially speaking, we don't have the picture that we want to have, right? Because we can easily get stuck there. And I have a lot of conversations with women who do, and who feel as though that somehow has defined how you move forward and what your life looks like in the future. And so I think for many of us, it is letting go of the past mistakes and, the decisions that our younger selves made. And then I would say, another thing that's really important is to really embrace this idea that, again, and obviously this really depends on your age and where you are in your stage of life. But for many of us, statistically speaking, we can anticipate living as long as we have lived, right? or certainly, like when you talk about, your parents' ages, right? And can you imagine what you would say to your 45-year-old father who was thinking, oh my God, I'm doomed, right? My future is doomed because my 30-year-old self and my 20-year-old self made these horrible financial mistakes, not even being able to fathom at that point that he had at least 45 more beautiful years ahead of him. And so I think we need to embrace that we have, statistically speaking, right? Because again, we don't have a crystal ball, but if we want to pick up one and create one for ourselves, I'd like to believe that is what we want to bet on, that we're going to be here. Having said that, the majority of those years will likely be you outside of full-time work, which means that you step away from the secure, every 2 weeks paycheck or whatever it was that was generating your revenue or your income, right? By showing up and providing your intellectual labor or however it is that you earn your money every day. So understanding that there are likely a lot of years ahead of you still, and that a lot of those years will likely be lived outside of full-time work. And then add to that, as I mentioned earlier, I'm sure your dad's 90-year-old self appreciates his life today just as much as he did when he was 45 years old, which means that he would like to get up and be able to enjoy his family. He would, like to maybe get up and think about how he's going to gift to his grandchildren. Like, there are financial expenditures that will still be important to him, and certain aspects of lifestyle that he will still want to maintain. And so I just encourage people to just take some time and imagine, I name my future, my future self. And, just really think about who the woman is that they're becoming, and recognize the fact that she is going to enjoy and value life just as much as you enjoy and value life today. And envision her lifestyle and how much it would take to help maintain her standard of living. Because you are working for both the woman that you are today and the woman that you are becoming. Like today, that is who you're working for. Like, of course, a lot of us are taking care of our families, and, we have real life expenditures today. But a part of our revenue generating and our income earning has to take into consideration the woman that we are becoming, so that she's able to maintain her desired standard of living when you decide to step away from full-time work.
That's so huge, because my father retired at 62. So almost 30 years he's been in retirement. Mm-hmm. But set things up so there was multiple streams. In fact, my brother and I joke about him that he and my mother in their retired state earn more than my brother and I combined.
Wow. That's beautiful.
Again, it's just, look at the era they came in, right? So it was like the ideal time. America was booming. It was like the perfect storm to go through work. But then making the right financial decisions and investments, and just doing things the right way. But the one thing that I talked to my parents about, I said, you guys did everything right, but at home, we didn't talk about finances. Mm-hmm. There was just something they didn't share. Obviously, pay your bills on time and all the basics, but what they were doing to prepare for their future wasn't something that we discussed as a family.
Sure. Yeah.
So I think even that is something that, as we go forward as women, as mothers, aunties, whatever our role is, that we need to be willing to, again, break out of that shell and have those conversations of successes and or lessons learned.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And we're in a different world now, right? So when your parents, there were likely pensions involved, Social Security was an exciting safety net for our culture and our country. And so there were likely some assurances in place as your parents were planning for their future that aren't in place now. And so a lot of assumption during that time was that our children will have the same benefits, of working that we do. And we find ourselves in a very different world. Those structures are starting to fall away. Pensions have gone the way of the dodo bird. I like to say, right? And who knows what Social Security will look like as we move into the future. So I think we are the generation that's experiencing this need to have this conversation more, because we are having to create our own financial wellness through retirement. And that's pretty new for us as a country.
Yeah, it is very new, because again, looking at the age of my parents, my father was military. So both of them retired from two separate careers. So look at, like you said, they have the Social Security and other things, but they have two, each of them independently have two pensions coming in.
Wow. Yeah.
And you think about our generation, how many times have we changed careers?
Right. Yeah.
So Or like you said, finding a place that offers pensions.
Yeah. Good luck with yeah. So we're in an interesting generation, because we really are the ones who are having to herald to those coming behind us that you have to create you have to build wealth for yourself. You just have to, and obviously not only for retirement. There are many reasons to accumulate wealth between now and then, right? But retirement, for sure, it is just a phase of life where, quite frankly, more and more we're finding ourselves on our own.
And that's another point where we're living longer.
Mm-hmm.
And let's go into this, the racial and gender inequity as far as pay. What would you say to women today, especially women of color that are thinking, okay, it's all bets are off for me, it's too late. I don't know what I can do. How am I going to bridge this gap? I mean, what can we do as individuals and as a community?
Yeah. Well, there really are some real challenges that we are facing. The gender pay gap, as you pointed out, is real. And then when you throw race in as a factor, now we're talking about Black women earning only about 63 cents for every dollar a man earns or a white male earns. Then when you think about the retirement savings gap, we're talking about women saving 68 cents for every dollar a man saves. Right? Yet, to your point, we're more likely to live longer. On average, we live longer. We're more likely to be single, both during the years of accumulation, as well as the years of having to depend on accumulated resources to fund our lifestyle. So there are some challenges facing us. What I tell women is to focus on what you can control. Just focus on what you can control. And what can you control? You can control getting your financial house in order, right? Like looking at your picture, understanding where you are. What is your income? What are your expenses? What are you doing with the resources that you do have coming in? And what have you done to date to prepare for, retirement or your future? So really getting your financial house in order, managing risks, making sure that you have sufficient emergency reserves, making sure that you're transferring the appropriate risks to insurance, making sure that you are managing your risks. Definitely saving for retirement. That is an important thing to be doing, and saving and investing in general. Another thing about women is that even when we're saving very conservatively, right? We may be saving like in a money market or in a savings account, but we're not investing. And it is so important to put your money to work for you. If your money isn't working for you, then you're effectively losing money. And so those are just some important things that just very quickly I will point out to women that they really should be doing to kind of to take control of what they can control. Because there are some real challenges out there. Unfortunately, a lot of them are beyond our control. And I also encourage women to, align yourself with organizations, movements, institutions that are doing impacting the bigger problem, right? Let's not be a part of those movements, but certainly control what you can control, which is, again, understanding your picture, managing your risks, making sure that you're saving and investing.
Leida, can you believe we're almost out of time?
Whoa, that was fast.
I know. So I want to take myself down, and I want to give you a few minutes to leave some lasting words with our listening audience and to let them know how they can contact you.
Yeah, sure. So lasting words. my sweet spot is retirement. My sweet spot in terms of working with a demographic or a population is certainly women who feel as though they have not done enough to prepare for their future. And I would say that, my word of encouragement would be to not feel as though all is lost because you have not done all of the right things. There is still a way forward. And the best way to contact me is Speller at Apogee, APOGEE, F like Frank, P like Paul.com. Thank you. Sorry, can't hear you.
Okay, I want to make sure I have this right. They can contact Leida Speller at Speller at APOGEE, F like Frank, P like Paul.com. That's probably the easiest way to get me. Or on all things social media, correct?
Yeah, they could just Google my name, I guess, and find my. I don't have any fancy, so not fancy at all in that regard.
No, that's good. Well, I do hope our listening audience that you enjoyed this conversation about looking into your crystal financial ball. If you want to hear more about what Leida has to offer, how she's serving communities, especially communities of color, to help you with your current financial situation as well as future planning, you can reach her at Speller at ApogeeFP.com, or you can find her on social media. And I want the women to remember to register for our Financial Wellness Boot Camp, which is November 6th. And Leida will be there talking more about this preparation that we all need to do. It's never too late. And I will put all of the information in the link below so that you can register and just put in the code CELEBRATE at bit.ly, Money and Women, and get your ticket for only $20. How great is that?
Awesome. Awesome.
So, Leida, thank you so very much for joining us. I look forward to seeing you at the boot camp. And again, ladies, thank you for joining us for another edition of Business and Financial Raw Talk, a no-holds-barred forum for leaders and innovators. And just remember, it is never too late to begin planning for your financial future. Give yourself some grace. And just remember, when your vision aligns with opportunity and you surround yourself with amazing resources and experts like Leida Speller, success is inevitable. Until next time, good night.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.